I had the most incredible time last night with a friend of mine. Just kikiing family, really. And we talked about so many things. And one of the things we spoke on were the relationships that we've experienced in our lives. You know, the men, you know, the parents, seeing the patterns in what we were working out with our parents and what we were working out with the people that we chose in our lives. It was a beautiful and growing conversation. Thank you. If you are listening, you know you are. And what was interesting was when I got home, I reflected on that conversation, and I reflected on one of the biggest relationships we ever encounter in our lives, no matter which way they tend to go. You know, the relationships that teach us most of the time the most, at least in my experience, I can speak to my experience, are the relationships we have with our caregivers, right? With our guardians, parents. You know, mine was my mother, the most powerful catalyst for love in my experience thus far. And I was thinking about the process, right? The process that we've grown through, and listening to family in the process that she was speaking to in her relationship with mother. And then I started to realize, you know, there's a moment that comes in that grace allows, right? Grace opens up this place for compassion, right? And from there, you know, forgiveness can come, right? And I was thinking about the dynamics, right, in my relationship with my mother, and you know, what others had shared with me over the years. And I started to say, this is not just about mother. This is about relationship, this awareness that at some point, whether it's your mother, whether it's your father, whether it's your sister, whether it's an ex-lover, at some point in your own journey, your own path, that person, you know, if this is what you're choosing, if you're choosing a certain path, that person, instead of them playing whatever role they were playing as the villain, as the catalyst, as whatever role they were playing, you start to see them beyond a role. You start to see them beyond the role of mother or father or brother or whatever role they played in your life, and you start to see them as human. You start to see them as human when you're ready to not carry around their baggage and yours too. When you're ready to see things, see your life, experience your life from a totally different perspective, they no longer play that role anymore. It's no longer needed. So now we get to play different roles with one another, and I get to show you me and you get to show me you, if that's what we're choosing. And I realized that I wasn't available. Now, this was the part that really got to me. I realized I wasn't available to get to that space in my own relationship with my mother in any way, shape, or form until I was able to get to that space with me. Until I began to allow grace into those spaces that felt so tender, that, you know, had broken. It wasn't until I allowed that grace, and then that grace turned into compassion, and then that compassion turned into forgiveness, which is what led me to, and when I say forgiveness, I'm speaking to this process of, I don't even have the same perspective of you any longer. My perspective of you has shifted, and you now, again, are playing a different role with me because I'm playing a different role with you, because that's all this really is, and that's all this has been. Because, you know, at one point, at one moment, maybe it was a series of moments, whatever it was, however long that person has played that role in your life, that was a part of your process. Your process of coming back into this space of remembering love, of choosing to remember love, or choosing to hold on to the resentments, the anger, the shame, the grief, the guilt. This doesn't say that it's okay for anyone to be violated. You know, I'm not saying any of that, but at some point you just start to see things different. And you begin this process of unraveling the binds that you've held on to, you know, that's been tethering you to this pain, this person, this moment, this event, these series of events, this part of your life. And you just become lighter and lighter. But again, I realized after this moment, this beautiful conversation I had that just sparked up so much in me, that moment didn't happen for me in my relationship with my mother, or really any other relationship when it's matured into that. I think of friendships I've had that I no longer, have anymore. Those people aren't in my life, or some just not in the same capacity, because, because of the things that were shifting, the roles that they were playing, and what I no longer was willing to create, what I was no longer willing to experience. If you're here and you've made it up to this point, you get it. You get everything that I'm saying right now. And everybody's talking about fire, 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 fire. Yes, it motivates us. Fire is an energy. Talking about the fire horse, it's an energy, it's a power. It is a presence that is powerfully illuminating, mesmerizing. It ignites us. It shows us what's out of alignment. It purifies. It moves. It transmutes. That's fire. And now the fires, as a collective, the fires within us are being cultivated. And not just to, I want to move forward with my life. I want to make the money. I want the job. I want the this. I want the that. Yes, those things are most likely in your life. They're going to be there. There's going to be a desire present in your soul for something. What I'm speaking to now is this fire, this motivation, this movement through all the areas of your life, including, your emotions, including, the beliefs that have influenced you to continue to create the same relationships, continue to play in the same arenas that have continued to, bring about this feeling of stuckness. The fire, especially the fire horse, says, yeah, we want all this, and it's time to really let go. Let's let go of all this stuff. Let's move forward. Let's lighten the load. We don't need to carry this anymore. I get to see myself as human, allow myself to disengage from the idea of me that I've held for so long. What I've imposed on my own self for so long. I get to let go of all of that, and I get to really allow me to exist and to take up space and to know what it is to even be me. I'm finding that out every day. It's been a while, family, and I thought that this message was going to be very different. I imagined that I was going to speak to you coming back, right? About something completely different. But I am deciding to, in every way practice what I preach. This is a journey of embodiment for me, of living this truth, of allowing myself to transform again and again and again. And it's an exciting journey. And one of my commitments to that is just showing up, is allowing things not to be so perfect or, any idea. All of these opportunities to share, that's what they grant me. An opportunity to let go and allow what's bigger to shine forth, to move forward, to express through me. And it feels good. So you can expect content like this now, where, I tap in, I share what I'm guided to. I listen to that nudge, I listen to that call. And let me know what you're experiencing right now. Let me know what's been on your heart. Let me know, what's been shifting. How did it feel? The 17th of February for you, how does it feel right now in your world? And if this resonated with you, write in the comments, I'm free. I let go of the load. And I move forward in my life. That's what this is really about. Grace, compassion, self-forgiveness, and then our relationships shift. They change. It is inevitable. I don't care what anybody says, because when I change, the world around me has no choice but to change. And when I say that, it has nothing to do, you have nothing to do with how other people respond to you, right? What they choose to do with this new version of you, but you have every ounce of sovereignty, of control over how you're choosing to respond to your life, how you're choosing to show up for yourself first and foremost, and how you're choosing to create your relationships. But not from a place of trauma anymore. We're letting that go. We're lightening the load, right? From this place of, you know what? I get to step into my wisdom. I get to allow this grace to bring in this gorgeous gift of compassion, and then open up to a bigger truth of the love in me, as me, through me, and throughout my life with every one of these characters that are a part of my story, my grand story. So, I love you, and I leave you with that. Please like, share, subscribe, if you feel called to do so. I look forward to connecting again. And I am allowing myself to be flexible with, the days that I post and how I show up. The plan is to be consistent. But whether it's 2 times a week or 4 times a week, that is something I'm going to allow myself to be in tune with. And with that said, have a beautiful everything. We get to lighten it up now. We get to have a different experience within our lives, within ourselves, again, within our relationships. Right? Thank you for your time, and thank you for your being. Blessings.